The 9-member panel hearing the election petition case finds the General Secretary of the NPP, Kwadwo Uswafriye, 5,000 cedis or in default 6 months in prison. A member of the communication team of the party gets a 2,000 cedi fine or in default 3 months in prison for contempt of court, and this were with harsh words for politicians.
This type of mentality, you see, has risen because certain arms of law enforcement have been let down to lie, and people grow horns, think they can ride over the state, run down everybody, mislead the ordinary people, poison their minds. After the last election, I wasn't here, but from outside, when I saw from Joy FM, their report on the iPad, I think 1 or 2 people died in the sequel to the election. Why should people die like that? Because of some people's bigotry, bloated egos, not caring about anybody, stronger than the state. We have the mandate here, and if we don't exercise this mandate properly, we will not be doing our work well. We'll be letting the state down.
This is today's big story, brought to you by Blue Rose Limited, Shelter for All, and Star Life Assurance. The president of the panel of judges, Justice William Atuguba, had very harsh words for politicians, as you heard him there. He is worried certain arms of government have been taken over by politicians who want to take the law into their hands. The president said, sitting on the election petition hearing, has taken a swipe at these politicians whom he said behave as if they have more power than the state. He is worried elections which should strengthen Ghana's democracy is rather making the state insecure because of behavior of politicians. He has warned the judiciary will execute its mandate to the fullest.
This is one of the worrying things in this country, that the way politicians, some of them play the game. They think they can dribble everybody, play political chess with everybody, and get away with it, even though it has repercussions for security in this country. That is our concern. And in your submissions, you were saying that looking at the time, a custodial sentence may not be advised. If that is to be pursued, we can take that light and see who has power in this country. Is it the state or any number of individuals who think that they are strong and special and above the state? We can do that to demonstrate that. Yes. This is our trouble in this country.
And so Sir John had a 5,000 cedi fine in default 6 months in prison. Hopes not get 2,000 cedi fine in default 3 months in prison. But Justice William Atuguba had very harsh words for politicians. Let me go to the phone lines. Now, Dr. Evans Agre is a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, Justice William Atuguba is asking a very simple question. Who has more power? Is it the state or the individuals?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nana. Right. This is a very significant development. And you and I believe that, or we know that the state is always supreme. That is why sovereignty, we have state sovereignty, because there's no power that is higher than that of the state. Even though sovereignty resides in the people, the government exercises that sovereignty on behalf of all of us.
From what Justice Atuguba is arguing, isn't it clear that the individual is then trying to hijack the sovereignty of the state?
It is important for us to underscore the fact that individuals have rights. We need to exercise the freedoms that we have responsibly. But it is important also to recognize that in exercising those rights, we should not undermine the security of the state. Now, what some political philosophers will call the general will, the common good, the will of all, the good of the state. The national interest must not be sacrificed. No, individual, we all outlive the state.
Right.
I mean, the state will outlive all of us, let me put it this way. And so it is important that in our daily discourse, in our activities among others, as we go about conducting ourselves in business, in politics, and whatever we do, we must not sacrifice the interests of the state. And that is why you see the judiciary as a very important organ of state, at the custodians of the laws of the land. Now, and that is why he made it very clear that they will be failing in their duty if they refuse or they are unable or unwilling to apply the laws as it is. What is important for us to know is that we sometimes we think that democracy is an open sesame and that anything goes, and that we must, if we are not careful, we will move into what I will call the Hobbesian state of nature, not a Lockean. The Hobbesian state of nature is very chaotic. Very, very chaotic, and that is when the laws of the jungle will apply. Very, very significant. And so for us, as we move on, as we build an enduring democracy for ourselves, it is important that we recognize the powers of the various arms of government.
Are political parties totally aware, let me put it that way, are they aware that the state in which perhaps they are itching to rule as a country is more powerful than them?
No, it is because, you see, right, the unfortunate thing is that it is because of our level of poverty. The fact that we haven't created opportunities enough for ordinary Ghanaian. The fact that the state is too big. The fact that the state controls all the resources that you can think about. The state is extremely powerful. And therefore, those who actually have control over the levers of government or the levers of power then think that all of us are lesser mortals and we must submit to them. That is a very dangerous phenomenon. What is important for us to know is that, look, we need to let our politicians know that they cannot occupy all the political space. And once that is clear, then they begin to accept that we all have a stake in the government of the state. We all have a stake in the state. Then they begin to respect each other. And even when they have serious concerns about how the system is running, about the various activities of certain individuals or certain groups, etc., they will be decorous. That's phenomenal as we move on. That's very important, very critical, in our democratic journey. Yes.
And finally, before I let you go, now, Dr. Atuguba again, Justice William Atuguba again is worried that, for instance, politicians have completely taken over some law enforcement agencies, and that means that they have a power to do whatever they want to do. Are we failing in our democratic journey to protect the very institutions that should protect us?
You see, democracy, if you look at our directive principles of state policy, one of the things that we ought to be doing very seriously is institutional building and institutional reforms. And this is what was echoed by Obama when he visited, that what we need are strong institutions and not strong men per se. So what we're saying is that we have created institutions. It is important for us to ensure that there is professionalism, that people who actually populate this institution pursue their activities and their actions in a merit system as far as as much as possible. We use merit system in recruitment. We use merit system in ensuring promotion among others, and then we allow the system to run. You see, if we are not able to build strong institutions, what will happen is that anytime there's a change of government, you see there are serious lapses in our system because we don't have seamless transitions. That is very dangerous. And as I said, we have there's too much powers for the politician in this country. And because they have too much powers, all of us, as I've indicated, have become lesser mortals. And they think that they occupy some high grounds and that they can run roughshod over all of us. That is dangerous. It is important for us now to let them know very well that, look, today's majority can even be tomorrow's minority.
Right.
And that we are the same people they will come back to appealing, for our votes. But unfortunately, when they get our votes, then now they say that instead of being leaders and being, serving our interests among others, they want to lord over all of us. That is dangerous. And I think it is important, or it is about time that we told them that, look, enough is enough. Let us draw the lines. Let us respect each other. That we all have a stake in the state. we need to organize and conduct our lives and our affairs in the state as decorous as possible so that we can collectively, build a nation. You see, we must tap into the opportunities that diversity brings. Because when we tap into the opportunities that the diversity brings in this country, then we'll be able to build a much more enterprising and prosperous nation. If we pursue this divisive and acrimonious and messy politics, we are going to be in trouble, going forward as a people. Yes.
Thank you so much for speaking to me, Dr. Evans Aggrey. It's from the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana there. Let me come to the studio. Dr. Maurice Ampao is the president of Legal Advocacy Foundation. He's just joined me here. Great, and thanks so much for joining us. Now, 5,000 cities and all in default 6 months, 2,000 cities all in default 3 months. What's this expected, the kind of punishment?
Yeah, definitely. That is the kind of punishments a lot of people were expecting, because custodial sentence will be too much because of what the Council for the Contempt, so that is they have done. He has done so much advocacy, show a lot of tact, show a lot of maturity, pleaded. No, he didn't come to defend. He came knowing what to do, because at the end of the day, the contempt have been committed already.
But the panel of judges said, they declared openly that they were giving that sentence reluctantly.
Definitely, because it was not a joke at all. They were not comfortable at all with the contemptuous statement that were made. It really undermined the authority. It was a direct insult. It was challenging the authority that the state have given them to manage the affairs of the nation in terms of settling disputes. And they thought that, look, they had to be hard. They have to send a strong signal.
Right.
But because of the tactful way by which Council for the Contemptuous handled this case,
So we saw the very first one. They involved Mr. Samia Wuku. We also saw Stephen Atuguba. We also saw Ken Crunchy, and the way their councils behaved. You think this council was simply fantastic? That's how you want to put it?
No, it was not that it was too fantastic, but he learned from the mistakes of the previous councils. I think when it comes to Samia Wuku, he had it easy because the petitioners and the respondent council came in to plead for leniency. But then when it came to Atachia, he thought he could put up a defense, and then he needed a formal trial so that he can raise issues, and then that did not sit well with the judges. Therefore, Ayuko took advantage of the lapses of Atachia, and then tried to do what is expected by understanding the issues and also raising the necessary concerns and remorsefulness, and tactfully trying to reduce the pressure. And he has a way of doing it, and it creates a lot of tact and psychology. Everything was
his sense of humor. How do lawyers rely on their sense of humor to make them be able to convince judges in cases at the court?
Let me tell you something. When you're a lawyer and the law is not on your side, you play with the sense of humor.
So definitely the law was not on his side. He had to play fast.
He realized that when it comes to the law, he cannot undo the judges. But the judges have looked at the statement. They are convinced that it's contemptuous. So what he has to do is to find ways and means to patch the contempt. So he tried to play on those things that will let the judges know that, look, my client have changed. My client is now an ambassador for peace. He's now telling everybody that, no, go out and respect the justices. So he played it very well, and it succeeded.
And there were arguments before Sir John and Adoye went to court that the timing, that was the argument, perhaps civil society, some groups that came out and said that the timing, particularly when we're waiting for the verdict, was not too good. I heard Justice Atuguba said, well, they are not worried about the timing at all.
Yes, I agree with them. I'm one of those who believe that the timing was right, because they've already indicated that they will call Sir John. But today, there was not too much work to be done, and it is better to send a strong signal in order to sensitize the system before the judgment comes. So what they did was that they used this occasion not only to punish Sir John, but also to send a strong signal that, look, the judgment is coming, and they also exercise state authority by which they will not allow politicians to plunge this country into chaos or do anything that will affect the security and the peace of the nation. The ordinary Ghanaian enjoy peace. The ordinary Ghanaian need to be protected, and then by doing that, they be able to create an environment where when the judgment comes, everybody will accept it.
We saw the build-up to the invitation of Sir John and Mr. Adoye. A lot of calls from society. Could this have influenced the judges?
Definitely.
So the judges could be influenced after all.
Yes, they are human beings. You know, as people said, look, we read all these things, we hear all these things. They are human beings. They read newspapers. They listen to radios. At times, even they watch us.
Right.
And then look at they watch. Yesterday, the night vigil. You know, if you're a judge,
they might have watched.
They watch all those things, and then the civil call, we beg. So they realize that there is some kind of reverence now for the judiciary. People are now recognizing our authority. So now let's go out there and do the kill. And you know, today they did not spare Sir John. In fact, what they did to Sir John, it was better they incarcerated him straightforward, because they've reduced him to nothing. You know, in the eyes of the ordinary Ghanaian,
right,
the whole world and the international community, the way they address Sir John.
The general secretary of
a party,
a major political party.
They said, now show your powers. We've reduced your powers to nothing. You are nobody. Without the state's authority, the state is higher than you. You know, so it is a greater punishment. And then they end up not also sparing, but they said you should send a bond of good behavior for 6 months. It means that you don't open your mouth and commit contempt, or else you go for prison for 6 months, and also a fine of 50 millions cities, all Ghana cities,
right,
and default 6 months in prison. And you realize that if it were not once again the tactfulness of the council, today Sir John will be in prison.
Oh, so they could have been kept in custody.
Custody,
and so they paid
the
amount.
The money. So they look at the time, almost 2 something. When will you be able to mobilize the 50 million cedis? Then you will be in police custody or prison custody until you come and pay the money before you be a free person. So you realize that Sir John Akondo had it easy. And when they asked him, look at what he said. He said, I've been humbled. You realize, he used the word, he said, look, I've gone through fire. And he realized that, look, he has done the worst thing in his life. And the effect on his profession as a lawyer. You know, the judges were saying that, look at you, a senior lawyer, for almost about 30 years of practice. You have not sent a good syntax to your genius. And then look at his go to your profession. He was very lucky that he did not refer his conduct to the General Legal Council.
Right.
It was left for his license to be withdrawn. And then also his name will be struck out from the roll of lawyers. And then you know, it's also, this thing is going to affect his political career, because when he wants to do re-elections, his opponent will use it against him. He will say, like, look, you have brought the party into dispute, so the party can sanction you.
Right.
And so it's a serious issue that Sir John has not having easy. And I think we all have to applaud the justices and the way they handled the case. Everybody, Ghana is a winner today.
29th August is the day for the ruling. That's according to Justice William Atuku. But now, what happened today in court by way of the addresses from the judges? How will it impact on finally what we hear on 29th?
Listen carefully. When you have the legal eye, when you are in the spirit, you must be in the spirit. You must have a legal eye, and you know what the judges are thinking. You see, you realize that the judgment, I can tell you, will strictly be based on rule of law.
Right.
They are going to apply strictly the laws of the land, the constitution. So you realize that they were seeking clarity on the evidence, by which they asked Philip Addison to clarify the controversy surrounding the evidence that he brought. And then they also went to ask serious questions on the constitutional interpretation, the questions on statutory interpretation, and then the question of evidence not being proven and all those things. So you realize that the judges are going to be very, very tactful. The judgment is going to promote rule of law. The judgment is going to enforce our law and protect the integrity of the laws and then the constitution of Ghana. So I am seeing a judgment that will come, that can stand the test of time.
Have we have gone through virtually the battle, let me put it that way, and 29th will be just putting the icing on the cake to get it ready for the country. How have we fared as a country, as society, as councils, as judges? How have we fared so far? So far, so good. I'm proud to be a Ghanaian. Anybody who's watching these proceedings have seen one thing, that there is transparency, there is fairness because of the live telecast. Two, the judges, this is the first case of its kind. They have managed the case very well. Within 48 days or so, the whole controversies, the legalities, the tensions, and then at times the pressure on the bench
consistently they've shown that they can be consistent and they know what they're about. The lawyers for the first time have done yeoman job. The volume of the case, the pressure on them, they've been able to overcome. Civil society generally have also contributed. Everybody have also shown some ton of commitment. So generally we've seen that we can applaud ourselves as Ghanaians. We've worked hard, although there may be lapses here and there, difficulty here and there. It has not been all rosy, but in all, we've proven that given the circumstances, the challenges that we face, we have shown that we have a struggle, but we've been able to overcome the struggle, and now it's showing more of our strength, and we are seeing victory.
Right. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Dr. Maurice Ampao is the president of the Legal Advocacy Foundation, and of course, a lot more of you out there. He's been talking to Joy News on the case, especially that of Sir John and Hobson Adoye. Let's take a listen to what you have told us.
You see, we are talking in terms of democracy, and when it comes to issues like this, we should put politics aside and deal with it as a nation, because we have come to a crossroad where the whole nation is crying for peace. And at this material moment where we are expecting the judges to come out with their verdict, I think it is proper that if somebody goes against them, they should temper mercy with justice and see how best we can. So if they have been fined, I think it's okay. Because if they have put them in prison, maybe it will generate to another level. But now that they have been fined, I think the supporters will help them to pay, and they will come out, and I think everybody will be happy.
You know, we are in a land whereby every law, you understand, where the supreme law works. So irrespective of your affiliation, Sir John is my main man. I am from Kumasi. You understand? He's my main man. But if the court thinks he's made a mistake, you understand, by saying something that should not be signed, something that should not be said, I think it's very normal. To me, it's very normal than to jail the man. You understand? It will give emphasis to people, the way and manner people talk on air.
Well, it's a perfect one, because we know the level at which we are now. Just on a few days to come, they are going to, very good, they are going to deliver the verdict. And for that matter, we know the tension that is prevailing now. Somebody will say, well, there is no tension, but yes, there is. So they not sentencing him, but rather giving him some fine. I think it's in a good position for the state. I believe that is the best the judges have done.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's cool that it has happened that way. Mind you, if it has been a sentence roll like that, I think the tension in the country could have gone up very, very high. So charging him for 5,000 Ghana cedis to be paid, I think our justices have done very well, and we have to recommend them for what they have done. We are hoping that at the end of the declaration, everything, the peace that we are enjoying will prevail, and Ghana will live in peace.
And so those are some of your comments. You've been talking to us about what happened in court. But I still want to take you back to the Supreme Court and Justice William Atuguba, what he told politicians. But very soon I'll try and speak to lawyer Ayikwe Otu, the counsel for the two people, Sir John and Adoye, as to how he managed to save his clients. But first, let's listen to Dr. Justice William Atuguba.
What saddens me as a Ghanaian is that I have not heard any condemnation from the leadership of the political party he is general secretary of. Not a single word of condemnation has come from the leadership of that party. We are all saying that we are going towards the end of the case. We are talking of peace. Everybody is talking of peace. The churches, the imams, everybody, chiefs, lawyers, we all want peace. Nobody wants to go into exile. And I believe that most of you, the politicians, you have your passports and visas ready. He just came back from the US, he can go back. When there is confusion in this country, some of us, we will now have to arrange our passports or visas and go and queue and arrange finances. And you cause confusion and you run away. We must all know that democracy is a developmental stage in every nation's life. This is the first time we are having a case of this nature in this country. We will pass this bridge and move on. And after this case, I hope and believe that presidential elections in this country will not be the same.
Well, that is the hope of the president of the panel of judges sitting on the election petition hearing. And a lot more people have also gotten to us by way of our Facebook page. And you've been telling us what you think about what has happened. Let me go to my wall and tell you what you have been telling us. And we ask you what you think about what has happened to Sir John and Hobson Adoye. And a champion Walker said, Junior says, Ayuko Otu is too much. And then Ahanta Apimenyini Hineba Kofi the third, you said it was the timing that the timing was wrong. And then Hussein Mohammed Mokhtar says others will learn lessons from it. And then Mario Spy Ayini, you said that's okay, at least politicians would mind some of their comments. And then Kingsley Nana Safu says 2,000 for Adoye, not 3,000. Perhaps you are correcting us, 2,000. And then Frank Boateng says, please don't mislead the public. Hobson was fined 2,000. Yes, Hobson was fined 2,000 Ghana cedis. And then Nene Golifred says, yes, the court was so merciful. It should have been asked, it should have asked him to pay more than that. And then Elisha Idam says, ha, you just gave out a laugh and says, will experience life in jail. Send my shout out to all criminals, and really don't know what you're talking about. And Nana Kojo Opobi says, Ghana Fokra Kasadodo. Well, that's what you think that Ghanaians talk too much. Then Yabua Armstrong says the Supreme Court judges were merciful to them. Godfrey says it is a shame for such personality being no Godfrey, please let's keep it civil and talk more. And then Kwame Kel Johnny PCR Pioferi was giving them 7,000 Ghana cedis. That's unity in MPP. You are talking about how the money, the fine was settled. And then Obing Tieku Ebenezer says, for me, Ayuko Otu's demeanor and tactics today was superb. He made all the difference by calming angry Justice Atugube's nerves with soft words. Sir John owes Ayuko Otu a lot of gratitude. And then Anthony Bacon Agbevo Thogbo says, but not others must learn from this. Franche Bafor says it was 5,000 and 2,000. And then Bakari Gideon, I think both the vigil and Ayuko Otu worked. I personally praise the Supreme Court justices for their professional ruling, all in the name of peace. In the end, Ghana won. And so a lot more of you have sent in more comments, and we'll continue to read them right here on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. But time now to tell you what to expect later on tonight at 8 when Israel Lai. And he will tell us more about the Supreme Court sitting on the election petition hearing, having fixed August 29 to make a ruling. Don't forget that the petition is challenging the legitimacy of President Mahama, with the petitioners claiming the 2012 presidential elections was fraught with more practices. Also coming up tonight, the IGP Mohammed Al-Hassan has re-echoed the need for police personnel to uphold the best practices and ethical standard. He says the police service has been in the news for wrong reasons in recent times, hence the need for the reminder. And again, the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association is asking media houses to sanitize the airwaves as the country waits for the verdict of the Supreme Court. And at a workshop for practitioners, Executive Director Gerard Ankara underscored the need for responsible journalism. And of course, we'll have more update on these issues and more on News at 8 with Israel Lai later on. Don't forget that the show was brought to you by Blue Rose Limited, Shelter for All, and Star Life Assurance. We'll have more on myjoyonline.com. My name is Bright Nanafo, and thanks so much for having stayed there. Stay with us. We have more on this channel.